right, what's up? Welcome back, everybody. Glad to be back in my seat, on my throne, on my little purple throne. I got a little purple throne for like my little purple tushy, where I can rule from my historical library kingdom, my little mental kingdom, with y'all little mental midgets in my audience. Shout out to my little short boys, my little sweet and lows. How y'all little boys doing? I'm just in a silly mood. I'm exhausted. We've done so much traveling. I've been from East Coast to East Coast, from the top to the bottom. I flew all the way up for the Tim Cass show. I flew all the way down drove all the way down for the controversial Pearly Things podcast, where we had a lot of sticky topics, sticky discussions, tough talk. She's very tall, and Sam Hyde said that he wanted to train me to fight somebody, and I said, let's do this Andy Kaufman style. I'm gonna fight Pearl. I told Pearl, you look like you could get some pretty good punches in. Sam Hyde thought this was a good idea. Andy Kaufman style. He said some other things I can't repeat in polite audiences. Anyway. It's not clearing my throat. It's because of the pollen here. I already know about everything you're going to tell me. I know about honeys. I know about bee remedies. I know about bees. Uh-oh. Everybody wants to bet on Pearl in that fight. Damn, son. And where is everybody? I'm over here on these like gigantic podcasts. And we're about to go into some real history. The PGL episode will drop, I'm sure, in the near future. I don't know the exact date, but it'll be pretty soon, I'm guessing. They dropped the couple podcasts before me, so I'm guessing it'll be coming relatively soon. Yeah, y'all are welcome for your new banger, Quasimodo. I thought it was pretty hype. By the way, if you're in the Florida area, Sunday night we'll be at the Sam Hyde stand-up event, so that's going to be hype. Looking forward to seeing y'all there. Yeah, we got to get Pearl to sign on to it though. She didn't seem like she wanted to fight. But Sam Hyde thought that was a funny idea. I said, let's just go full Andy Kaufman, bro. Guys, if you would hit like and share. Where is everybody? Oh, is it Friday night? Is that why? No, everybody's going. What the hell is there to do on a Friday night anyway? Nothing. All of America is basically just a strip mall anyway, with a damn Mattress Firm, with a damn Sprouts, with a Chipotle, and a Starbucks, and a Kirkland's. Does that shit still exist? That's basically every strip mall and a vape shop. So what? You're going to go get your mom a damn couch. You're going to get a new vape flavor. Lemon, cucumber, water, mint vape. You're going to go get some seafood flavored vapes. Some crab vape. You're going to go Pottery Barn. That's all there is anyway. So what the hell is there to do? Drink? Drinking. Who's going to be drinking tonight? A bunch of fat losers is drinking. You need to be over here learning, getting your learn on. Because as I learned I've learned recently that people don't know anything. They don't know anything, dude. People don't know anything. People don't know what a computers is. People don't know where babies come from. People think that it's a gay stork that brings them in the mail. It's not a stork that brings the baby. A stork mails it from via FedEx and UPS. Everybody hit like and share. Share this, by the way. Does anybody ever share the shows? Nobody shares my shows? I don't understand. 40,000 people will go watch live streams of like creepy dudes like Vouch. And you're not over here learning real stuff? What the hell is wrong with y'all? Anyway, what are we doing tonight? Well, tonight, get your learning cap on. Class is in session. Hush up. The professor's talking. Hush. Shh. Hush. Give you some time out. What are we doing tonight? We are covering this excellent little introductory book. It's written a little weird. But it's still a good book. I'm still very much enjoying it. It goes very well with our other text that we have been working our way through, which is the Whitney Webb book. I did make further progress in that book, and this book will tie well in with that one. So these two texts are companion texts. We got Nation Under You Know What. And then today we're going to be talking about the first half of this excellent little sort of obscure 90s book that I found. And when I say 90s, I'm talking about the most 90s book cover ever. I'm talking about CNC Music Factory designed cover. I'm talking about things that make you go, things that make you go, I'm talking covers that make Freedom Williams sweat. I'm talking Freedom Williams getting a little frisky over here when he sees this cover. Sexpionage. That's just the title that I gave it, by Donald Bower. Donald Bower is a historical writer. So today's text will be coming to you from the domain of history. And what we're going to see is that this is a really underrated element of how the world really works. That's a crucial theme over here on my channel that we've focused on for many years. And one of the best insights into how the world really works is the study of criminology, the study of secret societies, the study of geopolitics, con artistry, con men, and warfare. All of those things tie together, banking, economy, obviously, as well, to understand what's really going on. Because most people operate in a sort of delusion, a facsimile synthetic worldview, where they think the world is as TV and their teachers told them. Well, I got news for you. TV is for dummies, and teachers are the same dummies that watch the TV. So all your teachers, for the most part, were dummies. And if they weren't dummies, they wouldn't have been teachers. They would have been doing other things. Now, nothing inherently wrong with a teacher, but very few teachers actually figure out how the world really works and what's really going on. Can people bring beer to your live events? Yes, every live event that we've done allows you to bring your own alcohol. Biob. You ever see that word biob? That's what it's referring to. Bring your own alcohol. Biob. That's what it means. I sure as hell ain't gonna bring you alcohol. I freaking hate alcohol. I'm gonna bring you no damn beer. I'm not gonna contribute to your tits and your fatness. I hate alcohol. I fight alcohol. Just alcohol. I fight beers. Not people, just beers. I go to war against IPAs. Did you not see my IPA rant? That's figurative language, too. Before somebody says, he's violent. All right, let's talk about some of the famous incidents in history where we've seen blackmail, sex espionage, and spy operations play a key role in turning massive historical events to the other side. We have situations where warfare intelligence was divulged through sexpionage, and it swung the entire war or the entire battle. We have dynasties that have fallen through sexpionage. We have, hey Janet, she can't hear me. She turned that ding dang washing machine on. Actually, what husbands need to throw out the washing machines and make sure that the wives hand wash all that shit with that old Mennonite, like that rake, that big old rake machine, you know? It looks like a giant cheese grater. That's the only way clothes should be washed by all wives. There should be a law on the books. That's just a joke, too, by the way, before people freak out. Did you hear what he said? Every man should marry one Mennonite wife just for that cheese grater for clothes. The giant clothes cheese grater. Anyway, we've seen dynasties fall. We have seen cultures implode through degeneracy. We have seen all manner of trickery, deception, studies, experiments used via sexpionage. And that includes elements of entrapment, elements of compromat. Have you heard of this term, compromat? Compromat is the details and the information that you get to blackmail a politician or a powerful person, a leader, whoever. And so Donald wrote his book in 1990. So far before we had the details of this book, we did have some information that kind of told us what was going on. And Boer begins his text by saying that probably the most famous element of this was the KGB's School for Swallows and Ravens. For those that don't know, I'm so sorry. People bitching all the time about me coughing. Do you think I want to cough? Do you think I want to be like this? I know every one of your dumb remedies, every one of your home remedies, they don't work. If they worked, I wouldn't be coughing. I've tried them all. I've had allergies my entire life. And we moved next to a damn swamp. I don't know. So I don't know what to tell you. People are like, just move. Just freaking move. Yeah, dude, just freaking move. I moved to get away from the Tennessee trees. And the dang Florida trees are attacking. I don't know what else to do. I need to go to a shaman, a witch woman. A Florida Everglades witch woman. And she can make up a damn brew made from the skins of beavers or some shit. And then I will be good. I've tried it all. You can't just hold in. It's not a cough. It's actually, it's the air. It gets hard to breathe. I've tried local honey. We have like a giant, Jamie's obsessive with local honey. We have like 30 of them. Just breathe. It's not hard. It has to do with the time of day. Okay. As it progresses in the evening, if you read about pollen, the trees release pollen as you get towards the end of the day. I have an expensive Dyson air purifier. I have all that stuff. Okay, so, like, guys, come on. I know about all this stuff. You think I haven't Googled, like, and looked up, like, the things that pop up, right? It has to do with specifically what frickin' things are in this giant swamp. We live next to a swamp. And it has every conceivable greenery thing over there. I ain't using no damn Claritin. Claritin is big pharma trash, dude. I've tried humidifier. I'm not gonna get a humidifier. It's Florida, dude. This is the most humid air in the world. It's not humidity. The air is super humid. By the way, I think also the geoengineer spray also contributes to this. But it is also, this region is really bad. Okay, so the entire chat starts talking about this. Why quit coughing? Why the fuck are you coughing? So right now in this area, I can tell you what it is. Because I can tell by my allergic reaction which pollens it is. It's the grass pollen right now. Right now it is oak, hickory, and grass. I didn't even have to look it up. I knew it was grass. I'll look it up. Yes, it's grass. For some reason, it's the grass that makes it the hardest for me to breathe in the evening. So there you go. Now you got a whole damn report. Now you got a whole report. Although I did try this honey that has datil peppers in it. And because datils grow around this region, that helps a little bit. Grass pollen is actually just weed. No, dude, I assure you it's the damn grass pollen. So, we're talking about espionage, entrapment. I've got Manuka honey. We have all that stuff, dude. Anything you guys say, I guarantee you I have it and I've tried it. It's not even Central Florida. It's just close enough to a damn swamp. All right. Swamp. Toxic Avenger is over there just like, I don't know, cooming in the swamps with the trees, causing all this madness. They're after me. I don't know what to say. Have you tried? Have you tried shaving your arms? I've only tried shaving my pits. Have you tried? Never mind. I'm not gonna say that. All right. So he begins his book. You know what? I'm gonna go grab a water because this is getting ridiculous. So hold on just one moment. I'm not going anywhere. Just let me grab a water. Japanese War of 1904 to 1905. Can you believe that? That's how they won. All of the intel that got leaked through a bunch of hoes. What? Yes. By 1945, the Cold War was kicking off, ramping up. And there's an interesting part that I thought was a little contradictory in Boer's book, which is that he says at the beginning that the West didn't like to use operatives for espionage. Yet we read in many places in his book that they did. So I don't know where he gets this idea. Maybe his distinction is that the West was not actively engaged in training operatives for this, but rather they had no problem, of course, getting information from ladies of loose morals. And, shall we say, men's of loose morals. Right? Both things going on. Supposedly, Alan Dulles, and I don't think I really believe this, said that the purpose of intelligence is to infiltrate vital elements of the adversary's apparatus and to build up local defenses against that penetration by keeping countries aware of the nature and extent of the peril by assisting internal security services. So the idea is that these types of things would not benefit the West. Yet MI6 and the CIA used similar, quote, safe houses where Russians were also compromised. So safe houses don't just necessarily refer to a place where a spy can find refuge if he's on the run or something like that. If you watch the movies, that's typically where safe houses come into play. And yet we're told that, oh, well, I guess British intelligence and the CIA did engage in this. Now, if Whitney Webb's information is correct, I think it is, then turns out Justin McEffrey was compromising people for everybody. All kinds of intelligence things. So, once again, this story that the West was not doing this does not seem to be very plausible. We get some of these kind of boring stories early on in the book about the KGB ravens and swallows, which I have to think is pretty. Some of these stories must be pretty well known or common because they sound much like the stories or the episodes that the Americans has going on. So if you remember in the Americans, I always recommend that show. It's a great show. It's very realistic, but it's also got a bunch of things kind of smushed into it that it's not very realistic. Okay, Clark and well, that's Clark's his name when he's sleeping with that boring ass Martha woman. But I forget what's Kerry Russell's character's name. I forget her name. Elizabeth and Clark, right? Anyway, this is one of the best TV shows ever. Honestly, I mean, this show is awesome. It's just phenomenal. Everything about it. They ended it well. Most TV shows always screw up the ending, right? Like Lost, great show, and then we get this goofy, weird ending. But they ended the show very well, and there's at least 2 or 3 sequences I can think of off the top of my head in the Americans where we get stories very similar to what pops up in Bower's book. For example, the story of this first guy here, Philip Latour, a KGB entrapment operation with a character named Philip Latour, a French electronics engineer, had a wife and 3 children. In the late 1960s, he went on a vacation to the Mediterranean and decided to visit Russia. Now, so many of these stories about these poor, nerdy, lonely men and women, and a lot of these people operate and work in sensitive areas. So I'm kind of amazed and surprised that these people they weren't a little suspicious. I mean, like if you're a boring ass boomer dude and, you know, you've been with like one girl your whole life or something, you know, maybe you married your sweetheart, you decide to vacation, number one, in Russia in the Cold War. Why the hell would you want to vacation in Russia in the Cold War, first of all? And then, like, a babe comes up to you? Come on, dude. You got no sense at all? Okay, 9s and 10s, bombshell babes, are not interested in boring-ass boomers. But what's pretty amazing throughout this book, and in many of the cases that you read of the entrapment operations or of these kinds of swallow operations typically. Sometimes it happens with women, but more so obviously with the dudes. Like, what is going on in the minds of these dudes? Like, they actually think that some bombshell supermodel chick is into them when they're totally like the most boring middle class job, but they just happen to be working at some facility that makes nuclear technology, or they work at some facility that makes, like, I don't know, Black Hawk helicopters. But then suddenly, like, a babe is into come on, dude. It's just amazing, like, the level of naivety on a lot of these people. But such is the power of our drive to procreate. It's one of the most effective ways to get people. So let's see if we can find this poor chap. I want to see what he looks like. Philip Latour, KGB entrapment. So let's take a look at this guy, this French dude. We may not have any pictures of him. I don't know. It's hard to find pictures of some of these people. Okay, I don't see any pictures, but who knows? I don't think it's any of these dudes. What is this chick? What's she doing? Is this the girl that entrapped him? That looks like an AI picture. I'm sick of all these AI pictures flooding everywhere. making everything confusing, and you can't tell what's real and what's not. Anyway, so there's no pictures. Nobody knows about this guy. But a lot of these stories are very similar to what we see in the episodes of The Americans. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. The next example is the case. I think in the very first season, Carrie Russell entraps some nerdy government dude. Do you remember that? When she's all like, it's a little risque. And then Clark, who is the main character here, he's entraps this woman who works at the State Department, I think. And he develops this relationship with her, and he pretends to be also working at a government job that doesn't allow him to divulge much information, or that he can't have a normal relationship with her because of his spy work. And so he dons this very nerdy appearance, which is pretty funny. Here's Clark, and here's Clark seducing Martha, as you can see. And this is, I think, very accurate. This is very realistic. And the next story that he gives as his example is the exploits of a raven named Hans Suderlin. And Hans Suderlin is trained in Moscow to go after and entrap I think a secretary at NATO. And this is very close to the type of story that you have with Clark and Martha. So I tend to think maybe a lot of Clark, these kinds of stories that we read here. Anyway, so he entraps this woman. Let's see what her name was. Leonore Hines. She was a lonely spinster. Yeah, this is exactly like Martha. And I think she ends up killing herself. One of these women ends up killing herself because unaliving because of the trauma. Now, some of these people, the situations get really tense too because they're forced into working for these entities, and they're told if they don't, then they will be put in some sort of prison, Lubyanka or something, or they will be exposed in their home country. So that's of course the point of the law of the entrapment. But he notes that the recruiting and training of espionage agents, including swallows and ravens, is a unique aspect of the Soviet system. In the United States, they did not obtain recruits from. The United States and Western countries obtain recruits from the military or from selected men and women of all walks of life who combine their espionage activities with regular, normal ways of making a living. During the Cold War, Russians, however, chose their people very carefully, acquiring all the necessary background information and submitting their potential spies to a rigid course training. So you get to go to hump school. What you get your PhD at? At PU? I went to hump school, got a PhD. Got a PhD in D. Y'all laughing like it's fun over here coughing. I can't wait to get on live stream and cough. I'm gonna cough at them people. Y'all just mad because I'm a valedictorian of hump school. Man, I'm trying, man. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm trying my best over here. I got a pimp and hose degree. A PhD at NKVD. I got a PhD from the NKVD for the valedictorian D. And we just dropped 100 people for that joke. Where are you going? There's nothing else going on tonight, I assure you of that. This is where it's at. Anyway. The majority of spies for Russian and communist nationals of the country in which they operate fall into two categories: those who believe strongly in the ideology and they are willing to, or those who are willing to betray, or those who can be blackmailed. This is very common. This reminds us of what? MICE. We went into detail recently on several podcasts on this, actually. Pearl actually asked us a bunch of questions about MICE. Do you guys remember MICE? Money, ideology, compromise, and ego. Those are typically the things that are used to compromise people. Now, this also recalls the Americans, this chapter, because he says that there was the Marx Engels sex school set up outside of Moscow. This is pretty crazy. Have you ever heard of this? I've never heard of this. Let's see if we can find this. The Marx. We might get something else. Maybe I shouldn't type that in, right? But it's just pretty wild that, nobody knows about this. And yet this was like a huge part of our history. Okay, so nothing comes up, but of course you can't trust any of this Wikipedia stuff anyway, because, they don't even pull up. Basically the search engines don't hardly work anymore. But if you remember in the Americans, there was that key sequence where they flash back to the training of the main guy and Kerry Russell. And they were trained in a completely synthetic Soviet version of America. So the Soviets would build these entire American neighborhoods and towns to train their illegals operatives. And the Americans, as you guys know, is about the illegals. The illegals being Directorate S of the KGB, where they were trained to come over into and embed themselves and live in America as Americans their entire life almost, become an American family, and to engage in really important operations, espionage, spying, whatever was needed. Now, according to Mark, the illegals were not the ones that, for example, would engage in assassinations. There was a whole other arm of the KGB that was dealing with assassinations. But in the movie, in the show, The Americans, they kind of combine it into this kind of unrealistic situation where basically Kerry Russell's like sexually entrapping somebody, she's going and assassinating somebody else, and then she's driving home to make dinner for her family in the same day. Come on, that's a little much, but. Now, why are we talking about this in the fake neighborhoods? Because think about the extent to which the Soviet version, you could say, of MK Ultra here. Think how extensive and in-depth this is. They're building entire fake American neighborhoods. And this is real. So that these agents would go and they would live in these American neighborhoods when they're young. In this story, they're paired up. Kerry Russell and I forget the guy's name. They're paired up and put into the neighborhood, which has a mall, a movie theater, like a school, an apartment, and they live there for 2 or 3 years. They learn English, everything about American culture. I wish I could pull up the. Maybe you know what? You guys should watch that scene. Let's see if there's a clip of that. And I'll put it in the chat for you guys. You guys can watch it later. But let's see. The Americans fake neighborhood. Let's try that. Because I don't remember which episode it is. Oh, here we go. No. Stan discovers Philip is a spy. That's a famous scene. Let's see. The Americans. Soviet. Fake. All right. Well, I don't think anything's going to come up, but you get the idea. Now, here's the thing about the fake neighborhoods I was getting at, because if they're going to that extent in terms of training their operatives in sort of fake American neighborhoods, then we find out, as Bower writes in his book, that they made a masterful study, so to speak, of everything to do with SCX. To the extent that, well, let me read what he says. Those enrolled in these schools receive lectures on everything to do with the habits of the target country where they're going. In these fake cities, they live in surroundings built to stimulate the towns and the areas in which they'll be operating. Very much like a Hollywood movie set. Supermarkets, movie theaters, shops, people wear the costumes of their adopted residents to become part of that everyday life. Meticulous attention is given to every detail. How to purchase a bus ticket, tickets to the movies, ordering a meal, the proper amount to tip in that country. Men's magazines are studied. This is back in the Cold War. Prawn movies are imported and are shown regularly to the operatives. Why is this? Well, men chosen to be ravens are required to sleep with their girlfriends to lose all inhibitions and are ordered to make and to indulge in Skittles activities with other men. All of the students learn how to drug, to take care of people in emergency situations with unaliving. Cigarettes, candy, or whatever can be used. Soviets who enter this branch of the KGB are unaware of the kind of training they will undergo to the extent of the degradation that they suffer by offering themselves to the service of their country or ideology, Marxism. From the beginning, these agents are taught that the use of SEX as an espionage tool is a patriotic duty. So did you notice that? They're intentionally degraded. Now think about this. If the Soviets had figured out ways to create entire fake neighborhoods and SEX schools to degrade and mind control their operatives into being this, do you think that the West and the CIA and the pop stars and the other intelligence agencies in the West, do you think they wouldn't be doing the same thing? Of course they would. You think there are any morals? I mean, come on. They're not constrained by... So everybody in Eurasia is immoral and everybody in the West is moral? Come on. Are you that naive? This is silly. In other words, this is another attestation to the reality of perhaps people even in the pop scene undergoing similar types of things. Do you see what I'm saying? If agents can be trained in foreign countries to be handled SEX slaves, it does seem plausible that it could occur in our country as well via, I don't know, like a Britney or something. You see what I'm getting at? Let me clear my throat. This has honey in it, so I'm trying to do my best. Now, we don't know if... now, I think the fake cities and the SEX schools were real. Do you guys remember we did an analysis back at the time of Red Sparrow? I did not think this was a very good movie. I think it was a lot of propaganda. But it did have some elements to it. Remember with J-Law? Remember J-Law? This movie is about what I'm talking about. And did nobody watch this? It's 33 million views. Nobody remembers this? Come on. Y'all don't know what's up? Where y'all at? So J-Law she's a Russian, ballerina or whatever. And she's recruited into this school or one of these. She's sent to one in Kazakhstan, right? And, then this is her being sent on her first mission to entertain this diplomat or whatever. I forget all the details of it, but here she is flashing back when she's sent to her school. And then they got this woman that's like Rosa Klebb. I think they actually intentionally chose like a Rosa Klebb type woman. Now, if you don't remember, this is her right here. In the old James Bond stories, that's why Ian Fleming put Rosa Klebb in this very position. And in the one with the Turkish intelligence guy, Bey, B-E-Y, that Bond goes and talks to in Constantinople, is that Dr. No? Rosa Klebb is the handler to the blonde woman that Bond... I don't know. Does he flip her to the west? I can't remember, but it's been a while since I've watched Dr. No. But I think that's Dr. No with where he goes to Turkey, right? But it's very similar to this, and these things both of these situations are based in reality. So you have this sort of Rosa Klebb woman, and Rosa Klebb's intended to be a lesbian, like my glasses, right? Because the idea is that in these SEX schools, people are being taught this, and they're being degraded and initiated into this operative role. Of course, J-Law is, she's super soldier, slay queen, and she, whatever. And then, what's this guy's name? I forget his name. He's the Russians or whatever. Yeah, sure. But now remember, the West, of course, is super moral about all. Oh, we're so moral, and then yet the West pushes all the most degen stuff, right? So it's like, oh, look how evil NKVD was. And yeah, I think the NKVD was evil. This is evil it's evil to put people into this, to ruin their lives and do this kind of stuff, right? Government funded, mind control, SEX control, right? And yet our entire apparatus in the West, from the top down, the corporate elite down, pushes stuff worse than this. So where's all the moralizing? Actually, it makes no sense. They're both bad, is my point. Are you a KGB operative? You trust the K? No, I'm saying they're both bad. You can't understand that two sides are bad. So he gives a few cases like this of kind of stories that are kind of boring. I'll pass on those. It's just basically people being manipulated at a basic level about being lonely and looking for companionship. And it's usually just some naval engineer guy who's nerdy. And again, this hot Russian chick or hot German chick, chats him up, and he's like totally entranced because he thinks he's a Mac daddy when he's like a boring boomer beta man. And he falls. But the next most interesting element that I did not know, that did surprise me. Oh, by the way, there was a story, too, where the KGB engineered a fake RAPE case. And it was somebody high profile. Let's see who it was. Oh, this was the Philippe Latour guy. So this was the French guy we were talking about earlier. And they gave him a bunch of drinks of wine. He was chatting it up with this babe. And they put a woman around him when he passed out, when he was drugged. And he woke up, and she ran away claiming that she had been RAPED. So then the KGB had this apparent RAPE situation. And they were blackmailing this guy to get information on whatever radio technology he was working on during the Cold War for the French government. But I think this guy disclosed what happened, so he didn't actually... he lost his job and his security clearance, but he didn't end up, destroyed by the KGB. So that's very reminiscent in the Americans, in the episode where they entrap and stage a scenario with... I think he's a Polish diplomat, if I recall. And there's like a UN meeting. Maybe it's supposed to be something akin to Lech Walesa. I don't think it's intentionally Lech Walesa. I think in the Americans, it's like somebody who works with Lech Walesa and the KGB, Kerry Russell or somebody like does this type of thing. Now, here's the really crazy part. Did you know? I did not know this. I don't know a whole lot about Che Guevara. I'm not super well studied on Latin South America, operations and all that. I know a little bit. I've read Servando Gonzalez's book, but Servando's book is about Castro. So I don't know much about Che, but it turns out Che was being spied on and was being kind of, I wouldn't say manipulated, but the intention was to manipulate Che via his girlfriend, this Latin American, what did this guy call her? His steamy Latin American girlfriend. Or Bolivian girlfriend. Let's see who she was. Laura Martinez. Hey bro, you better get this steamy girl out of here, bro. She's barely gonna spy on me, bro. She was sent by the KGB to spy on Che, because Che was not following everything that the Soviet party line wanted. And I've heard some other dudes pretty well studied in the history of Che. Again, I don't know that much about Che, but they were arguing the same thing, that actually Che was a little more off script than Castro. And this is actually the reason why Che was taken out. And this girlfriend was a big part of this. So she was informing and spying on him the entire time to the KGB. They wanted to make sure that they kept Che in line. And Board says, after a matter of months, Che had built up a substantial army. However, the Soviets were concerned that Che was preaching a creed of Marxism that the USSR didn't exactly want. He was becoming a little too powerful, and the girlfriend was given orders to betray the guerrilla revolution. So, excuse me. This is a different. This is a different girl. Tanya. Let's see. I thought we were talking about Laura. Let's hold on. I'm getting confused with Che's girlfriends here. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. So Tanya is Laura Martinez's code name. Excuse me. That's why I was confused. So it turns out she was spying on him. She was informing on him. And the KGB could put pressure on her to get him in line or to undermine his revolution. And it ended up not working. It says Tanya was given orders to betray Che. In 1967, she passed information to General Juan Jose Torres, the Bolivian chief of staff, giving away the location of Che's guerrilla camps. Che was captured and shot by the Bolivian army sergeant, and Tanya was then reportedly killed in an ambush, but her body was never found. So basically Che got screwed over by this chick. And that's why his whole thing failed. And I'm guessing that she leaked his location to the right-wing government, which is ironic because, let's see who that was. The Bolivian leader, Juan Jose Torres. Hey, bro. You better get this chick out of here, bro. She's barely gonna betray you, man. But for real? Like, she's barely gonna betray you. Juan Jose Torres. Yeah, he definitely looks like a right-wing leader. No, socialist. He's not. So I guess he's a rival to Che. 50th president of Bolivia. He was murdered in the frame of United States-backed Operation Condor. By the way, of course, Pope Francis participated in Operation Condor, if you didn't know. Aiding, let's see. Though most military leaders in Latin America have been associated with right-wing, Torres was a left-wing socialist. But I guess he didn't like Che. Interesting. All of this Latin, South American Cold War stuff, it's like a giant thing. I don't know that much about it. That's not my. I mean, I know a little bit, but it's its own. I mean, it's you can spend your whole life on like CIA, Soviet operations in Latin, South America. Anyway. The next case that he talks about that I didn't know about was under Tsar Nicholas I. And so the Russian Imperial Secret Service was known as the Okhrana. Okhrana. And one of its notable spies was a 23-year-old traveling salesman named Yevno Azev. He was from a small town of Lyskovo, Russia, and finding himself in financial problems, He escaped to Germany. Throughout his money woes, living in Germany, he would keep contact with the Russian police and would try to get information to sell the names of revolutionaries in Germany for a price. So he was informing and spying on the leftists and the socialists. In 1894, he moved to Bern and married and joined the Union of Russian Revolutionaries. He was throughout this time a double agent, and this reminds me of kind of some of the stuff that we read about in Dostoevsky's stories, right? Where we have these socialists, and then we have the czarist secret police trying to stamp out the socialists. And ended up creating a good position for his favorite spy as an engineer in the General Electric Company. This enabled Azov to work at the center of the revolutionary movement. He was very clever as a spy and was never suspected as a double agent, even though he was for pretty much most of his life. He ended up kind of undermining a whole bunch of socialist operations and efforts. There was a couple times where it looked like he was going to be caught and executed, and yet he masterfully made his way through these operations. Man, it's so hard to breathe here. I'm doing everything I can. Now, his story doesn't end because one summer evening in St. Petersburg, he attended a cafe where he became enchanted with one of the local entertainers, a woman named Hedy de Hero. She became his mistress. Hedy was a German girl who entertained as a singer, but her warm smile and sparkling eyes and shapely figure were her main attributes. Before meeting Azov, she had been one of the party girls who attended the wild affairs of Grand Duke Cyril and his fun-loving brother Boris. It was all great fun. It was also profitable for the showgirl, and by the time that the Russo-Japanese War was over, she had made 50,000 rubles, with which she foolishly invested in a Siberian gold mine. Mr. Azov, who was 39 when he met Hedy, posed as a prosperous merchant who enjoyed the company of beautiful women. His wife knew him only as a dedicated revolutionary, but all of this time he was playing his double role as a secret agent. Yevno's life changed when he met Hedy and arrived on the scene, and she envisioned him as a delightful man with whom she fell in love. They spent every moment together. And, of course, this fell apart because the revolutionaries began to question, why are you living such an extravagant lifestyle if you're a socialist communist? Feeling the pressure, Azov took Hedy, his mistress, to Germany. He left with her parents, and they went to Glasgow, where a Russian cruise ship was being built. And the engineer, Mikhail Kostenko, was a social revolutionary who met with Azov, and together they conceived up the plan to assassinate Nicholas II. The plan was going to be that on the boat, they would kill the Tsar while he was inspecting the ship. So Azov was an agent provocateur who had concocted this whole plan to entrap all of these socialist revolutionaries and then out them when they wanted to kill Tsar Nicholas II. Of course, this plan failed, and it was all the information was given over to the Okhrana. And Azov, who acknowledged that he had been an agent, was almost caught. He was found guilty, but turns out it was decided to lure him to a villa and stage his accidental death. So they staged his death, and I think he ran away to Germany again with Hedy. So quite an adventurous life that this man lived. What a character. See, all these stories are crazy. Like every one of these would make a wild movie. But we certainly can't have any heroes of Russia. They have to all be bad guys. Isn't it wild that none of these people pop up? So these are all these like famous, 1800s, 1900s, all these famous spy stories, and nothing pops up for these people. Interesting. course, it's just Hedy Lamarr. No, not Hedy Lamarr. Although, I mean, pretty much all of these old entertainers, you know what I mean? Like, they're almost all spies. I don't even know if Hedy Lamarr was a spy, but I won't be surprised. Maybe she was. I can't remember. Let's see if she was. Was she a spy? Yes, she was. Looks like. Hedy Lamarr's military invention? What? Her technological contributions were squandered? What? This sounds crazy. She was pigeonholed as a one-dimensional Hollywood object. Her never-used contribution to military technology. I didn't know she was born to a Jewish family. She escaped the tiny mustache men to, I guess, come to L.A. She also developed a system to protect allies. What? This is crazy. Spread spectrum technology would become the forerunner of what was used in today's Wi-Fi. Come on now. Is this for real? What? This is crazy. But was she a spy? Hedy Lamarr and composer George Antheil developed radio guidance systems. Okay, I mean, I could. This is just crazy. I mean, I study this stuff all the time. I didn't even know this. So, secret communication system that they developed. Well, that's crazy. Who knew that? Anyway. All right. Moving on. The KGB does not always expect immediate results in its blackmail efforts. It maintains files this was written during the Cold War still. It maintained files at 2 Dzerzhinsky Square that were kept for 50 years. Giant KGB files kept for 50 years to make sure that the information could be stored that might be useful at a future date. In fact, the KGB learned of many individuals in the West who had Skittles proclivities. And one of the famous cases was, I got a funny story here from this, a British... No, a young Italian high-ranking government official, son of a high-ranking government official. KGB got dirt on him. Anyway, that one's kind of stupid, but this is crazy. So, President Sukarno of Indonesia in the 1960s was famous for his amorous appetite and for visiting ladies of the evening. The KGB hatched a plot by which they would entrap him at some of their facilities when he came to visit, and they would film these escapades, which happened quite a bit. They then brought in President Sukarno and said, guess what? We've got you on tape with all of these ladies. You will now work for us. Sukarno, interestingly, flipped the tables on them and said, do you have copies of all these tapes? I would actually like to show them in my country because my fellow countrymen will be impressed and will cheer me on. And the KGB were sort of left with a mic drop, and they didn't know what to do, so this actually failed. Still sulking over this entrapment case, there was another funny incident where the KGB thought that they had gotten wind of an incident at the 1965 inauguration of LBJ, where a fun-loving British diplomat asked a fellow Soviet minister, Alexander Zinchuk, if he could talk to him privately. They stepped away to the side, and the British diplomat said, that man over there is not actually Lyndon Baines Johnson. LBJ was assassinated during the campaign. However, the United States has kept this secret, and they've elected a double agent. Zinchuk could hardly wait to excuse himself, rushing to the nearest telephone to call his handlers. Although his superiors ridiculed the idea, the KGB covertly took this information very seriously and started making inquiries into the possible accident which had gotten rid of LBJ. However, it turns out that this was all disinformation and was a distraction. So, moving on. The next example was a place called Camp David. Now, this is not the Camp David Accords. I don't think this is very different. But this is this is very reminiscent of what you would think about in the Jeff Stein McGeffrey situation, right? Or Craig Spence and the Franklin cover-up. This is the idea of massage parlors and these kinds of places that are actually full of two-way mirrors and devices. So this was becoming more popular in the 1950s. And now this is interesting because this is West Germany. So get this. In 1955, the U.S., under Army Sergeant Glenn Rohrer, was assigned a heavily guarded compound that was used to train European and American agents in operations behind the Iron Curtain. Located at a 12-acre site in Oberrutsel, West Germany, 10 miles from Frankfurt, it was known as Camp David. The purpose of this facility was to train black and gray agents. Full-time spies were known as blacks and operated in the Soviet-controlled countries under false identities. Gray were businessmen, tourists, and journalists who agreed to take on espionage assignments for patriotism or for money. All these agents were debriefed and sent to various missions under lie detector tests, blah, blah, blah. Present at virtually every briefing session, Glenn Rohrer knew the names of every agent and the names and identities of hundreds of CIA agents, both black and gray. He was also well aware of their operating procedures, the location of their missions, their contacts, and their successes. Rohrer had been carefully screened and vetted by the CIA before being posted to run Camp David. Stringent regulations were there. However, being stationed there alone, Rohrer felt a strong need eventually to find some female companionship. In 1960, he decided to visit a luxurious Frankfurt massage parlor operated by Lydia Kuzazov. Lydia was the headmistress of the KGB's SEX school, and she had been sent into West Germany by the KGB to set up an espionage ring. She had recruited the most beautiful girls that she could find, and she paid them extremely well for their roles as top flight ladies of the evening. The patrons were first made comfortable in their pleasant, respectable rooms, and it turns out the massages, which led to happening. Turns out there were microphones, tape recorders, two-way mirrors everywhere. So, Jeff Stein McGeffrey. This led to a gigantic score because Lydia initially demanded from Rohrer blackmail information on all the agents in East Germany. By 1965, Rohrer had supplied the KGB with the names and addresses of, by this time, dozens of CIA agents. And from 1955 to 65, more than 100 agents, CIA agents, were arrested due to this one dude's compromise. All because he wanted to get happy ending. You're like happy ending? So all it takes is one happy ending, dude, and you're cooked. Now, did you guys know that there's old training videos? This is what amazes me is like they put up the training videos for American soldiers on YouTube. Let me think of what that was titled. U.S. You should watch these if you've never seen them. They're pretty funny. U.S. military soldier training It's something like, I don't know if it has... Maybe something like this. Let's try this. But these training videos for the soldiers are pretty funny, if we can find one. No, that's not it. Oh, wait, here we go. This is it. Espionage target. You! I think this is it. Let's see.
This man's name is Nick McCrados. Destination, Munich. Occupation, freelance journalist, door-to-door salesman, jack of all trades, with no particular skill in any. But in Vienna, his last stop in a search of fortune, McCrados made a contact that promises to open for him a whole new career. This girl's name is Tomoko Kimura. Occupation, taxi dancer at Tokyo.
This is like the most archetypal version of this, right? Japanese dancer, you like me, I like you, right? This is great. This is the actual training film. I forgot that I remember watching this like 5 years ago, and I was like, that's actually pretty funny. We should watch that on a stream sometime. And I forgot about it. But yeah, this is like literally the stories that she's describing, right? So like they're recruiting like all the babes, and then these, like, how did this guy not watch this video? This is like right around the same time. This is 1960s. Like, this video is 64. Did they not send this to Sergeant Rohrer? All because of this dude was just like lonely one night, or maybe he was stationed there for more than one night. But why would you even? I mean, did this dude have no game? Like, you couldn't just go find a date? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he was an ugly dude.
Music hall, a favorite night spot of American servicemen. Lately, having struck up an acquaintance with a U.S. Marine, Tomoko has made his service club her afternoon hangout.
Where are they at? Germany?
Country. His destination, an American air base overseas. His jade cufflinks aren't just accidental attire.
So Soviet operatives wear jade cufflinks? I'm confused. Maybe this is a... is this World War II? I thought this was Cold War. It says 1964, so... But it's like Germans and Japanese. This would be like, maybe they're using Axis time as an example. I can't remember. They've got that like generically Asian music, don 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 don, and you've got a guy with jade cufflinks. Is that how we identify spies? The Soviets wear jade cufflinks. Was she Japanese or Chinese? Now I'm confused. Her name was Japanese, right? Wasn't it Tamamoto or something? So she can't be a Soviet. I guess she could.
Different people in different parts of the world, but all with a common mission. For each is a hostile agent of the worldwide Sino-Soviet intelligence network.
Identified by cufflinks?
Pardon, sir. Could I trouble you for a match?
Their job? To exploit, if and when the opportunity arises, you, the serviceman and woman, in order to gain access to information that can be of value to an enemy.
I just can't understand how these sergeants wouldn't think or conceive of the house of ill repute being the place by which this would happen. I mean, you'd be a lot less likely to be entrapped in this by meeting a woman at a bar than you would going to the damn massage parlor. That's the goofy part. Anyway, this is a funny thing. We're not going to watch all this, but this guy instructing you on how to avoid being entrapped is pretty funny. I'll just play a little bit more.
These cases have been taken from the files of the Army Intelligence Corps, the Office of Special Investigation, U.S. Air Force, and the Office of Naval Intelligence. Today, we're going to show you 3 cases of attempted espionage by agents of the Sino-Soviet intelligence system. Now, for security reasons, certain names and locations have been altered. But essentially, these things happen.
That big. But, as you know, emigration is against the laws of our country.
Classified material.
Yeah, there's 3 cases, and here's the one where the woman gets entrapped, I think, into like doing drops. She has to drop this information underneath a rock or whatever.
For he was arrested and jailed under violation of local espionage laws, bringing to an end his career as an intelligence agent. A relative behind the Iron Curtain. Indebtedness, loneliness, the desire for an easy buck. All vulnerable areas ripe for exploitation.
Well, what about the happy ending case? I thought we were gonna get a little more action out of Yamamoto or whatever her name was at the beginning. What happened to that story? Is that this soldier man here? He's waiting to meet her at the restaurant. Is that, I think, how it goes?
Stars and stripes from your own information officer, but it is too much trouble. So, here. Where is Pete? Bedroom.
Anyway, you guys can watch this on your own. We'll get back to our story. Why did 100 people leave after that? That was like the best part, was all this stuff. I don't get it. People's attention spans are just destroyed. So, a lot of people lost out there. There was a similar situation with Sir Harrison, British case where a similar thing had happened to an older man. He fell for a young girl, Sir Geoffrey Hansen, British ambassador to Moscow. He was entrapped by an attractive young Russian girl named Galia. She was a KGB swallow. He saw her emerging from a bathtub with no clothes and immediately was infatuated. They began a relationship, and he soon found out that her bedroom had been bugged with hidden cameras, and the KGB had succeeded in entrapping a high-level British ambassador. But the most serious case was the KGB entrapment of Rear Admiral Herman Lloydka. He's a British Rear Admiral assigned to NATO in the 1960s, and he had clearance for everything top secret, NATO's confidential, secret, and cosmic top secret rating, whatever cosmic top secret is in NATO. He was a married man with 5 children and had a very important position at NATO at the time. He was also a good-looking and charismatic man, and that made him attractive to many women. During one of his work stays in Paris in 1966, he was being watched very closely by Soviet agents who learned that he was frequenting a nightclub called the Left Bank. One particular evening, the KGB sent a sensuous 23-year-old French girl in named Yvonne. She successfully talked him up, chatted him up, trapped him. And they had an evening of wild lovemaking with many erotic positions. This was all filmed, all photographed. And the rear admiral was then forced into handing over pretty much everything classified that he could get his hands on for the KGB. This did a tremendous amount of damage to NATO during this time. Lloydke was shown all of this and continued to cooperate. The KGB was also aware that Rear Admiral Lloydke supervised the storage of billions of dollars worth of military equipment, including F-104 Lockheed starfighters, surface-to-air missiles, air-to-air missiles, etc. Pretty much all the ammunition of NATO forces. He was, however, under total demand for the KGB, as enslaved and in bondage to the KGB. This is his words. In 1967, after NATO's command structure, including SHAPE, that is the Supreme Headquarters of Allied Powers of Europe, was transferred from France to Belgium, they increased their ransom demand. The KGB ordered Lloydke to subvert members of his staff by using whatever methods were at hand, including prawn. That's because Lloydke would occasionally peruse his hobby of photographing underage people. So he was making his own prawn. And operational changes took place in NATO in 1967, and Lloydke was in control of more weapons and research. So this was even worse for this. And then they asked him to give him the parts for the Hawk missile system. Lloydke obtained the parts and took them to his usual KGB rendezvous points, but this was eventually discovered by NATO security. Once he had delivered all this vital material, the KGB arranged for the treasonable acts to be discovered by his own intel. So the KGB was setting him up to be discovered by his own people. An undercover agent at NATO photographed some old documents still classified as top secret using a Minox. That's that little camera that you saw that was given as a gift. As you guys, everybody thought that was Jamie's pregnancy test, which it said very clearly underneath it that it's a KGB Minox camera. To establish the Admiral's connection to all these pictures, the agent went to the parking lot, took several photographs of Lloydke's car. The film was turned over to a KGB camera expert who broke into Lloydke's apartment and replaced the film in his camera with the forgery. Unaware of this switch, Lloydke snapped several pictures of his family and his nude persons, and the film was taken to a development studio. This was all a frame-up, and eventually he was offed. So the murder... It's unclear who killed Lloydke, but it could easily be either the KGB or the CIA. And that would be for multiple reasons. Both sides had a lot of motivations. But his information also, I think, led to other NATO deaths. Multiple people around Lloydke ended up offed or suicided or something else. Only once in the history of the FBI. Now, this was in 1990, and so I'm wondering why they said once in the history of the FBI, because wasn't it the whole goofy TV movie with the Robert Hansen story? So maybe this came out after. Yeah, they made this movie with, what's his name? Frickin' John C. Lilly. Have you guys watched this? Everybody should watch this if you haven't seen it. Because It's a TV movie, but it's pretty good, from 2002. And it's got what's-her-face from Weeds in it as his wife. Mary Louise Parker and William Hurt. But I don't know why this guy's saying only once, because this must have happened after. So this would be twice now. So Robert Hansen pleaded guilty of espionage. Okay, so this is twice. So before Robert Hansen in 2002, yeah, the only person who had been busted in the FBI doing this was a guy named Richard Miller. So, and I think both guys were entrapped. I was trying to find this. Yeah. A lot of these people, they're not, you think they're entrapped by babes. They're not all entrapped by babes. Some of these people are entrapped by not babes. They're like sending like freaking hags. And I'm thinking, it must be pretty easy to entrap people, because a lot of these people, like, I mean, okay, I get it. You're entrapped by a bombshell 10, right? Okay, yeah, I can understand that you caved. But I mean, a lot of these chicks that entrap people are not hot. That's the other surprising thing. Many of them are, many of them are not. So let me show you. You can't really find pictures of her. There's only one blurry picture, but she does not look attractive. Svetlana. You got to see this Soviet chick here. She's not good looking. Ogorodinkova. And I don't. Maybe the KGB was like short on funds. They were like, we don't really have the funds right now for babes. So let's just send him a kind of a mid chick. Let's see. Is this her? I mean, she's not ugly, but like, is that her? I can't tell if that's her or not. What the heck is all this crap? I don't know. Maybe that's her. This is somebody's blog. If that's her, right? It's like, this chick's not that good looking. How did you fall for her? Anyway, it's hard to find any of these pictures. I mean, basically Google doesn't work, but let me show you if you can. She looks like a dang cigarette grandma. You know what I mean? Like, here, this is her right here. You know what I mean? She looks like she's going to be taking your order at the diner and trying to get you to buy some tater tots.
You need some more coffee? You want me to top that off?
You know, that's the vibe I'm getting. I'm like, it's not much of it. But anyway, that's all it took to entrap Richard Miller. So he was the first of the FBI characters to be entrapped, Richard Miller. And then we got the Robert Hansen case in 2002. And by the way, I won't say who, but I talked to somebody who said that they were involved in that case, which is interesting. And did you know they made that? Isn't that other movie about this? Breach? Remember that movie Breach? Yeah, okay. So Ryan Felipe and that ugly ass dude, he was involved in this. Did you guys, Laura Linney, remember this? It's a decent movie. It's a little slow. So there's two versions of it. There's the TV movie with William Hurt called The Robert Hansen Story. And then there's the 2007 Ryan Felipe Laura Linney movie. I forget the guy that's playing this one. Chris Cooper. I can never think of that guy's name. Did you guys watch Breach? So this is about the Hansen story. And what's interesting about the Hansen story is very similar to if you watch the recent documentary that featured John le Carré. And it was called Pigeon. I recommend this too if you haven't seen it. Pigeon Tunnel. The Pigeon Tunnel. Yeah, that's it. This is a pretty good documentary. It's an Apple documentary, I think. And this revolves around a career of John le Carré, of course, the famous espionage writer. We just covered, as you guys know, his famous Mossad story, Little Drummer Girl. We covered that a few weeks ago. This is a documentary where they interviewed le Carré, who never gives interviews. So basically, he, like, super private, never really gave any interviews. The interview is told in this very weird, trippy style. I mean, it was well produced. Some of the interview I thought was a little weird. But what I thought was fascinating was the first story that he told about the entrapment that he was involved in had to do with Soviets at one of the British universities. I don't know, Eton or Cambridge or somewhere. It was, you know, it's similar to the Cambridge spy ring. It wasn't Philby, but it was the people in those circles. Another one of these British intelligence operatives that's Skittles. Okay, so it's just like people can't figure out that, like, all governments are toppling, nations are falling, kingdoms are falling, wars are being lost. Not even so much because of the hetero stuff. It's because of all the Skittles everywhere. So governments get filled with Skittles people. They're easily compromised and controlled, and then everything just collapses. For example, now le Carré doesn't explain a lot of details in regard to his first operation, but one of his first operations was a fellow young man at, I think, Cambridge. I don't remember who. Anyway, one of these elite British schools. And it sounds like this person thought that le Carré was maybe going to be his boyfriend. And that didn't happen. And this person was turned in. And it's the same story with all of these Soviet defecting British intelligence people. Now, why are all of these British intelligence people Skittles, first of all? Could they not root out Skittles people? I just can't. I don't understand why there would be so many. This would be such a recurring problem for British intelligence. Like, I mean, can you not figure out who's straight? I don't get it. So, but I don't know. How are the Soviets so good at finding the people light in their loafers? Another one of these British individuals that got entrapped, John Vassall. And he, basically the Soviets just turned on their gaydar and they're like, we got them. Like, all of these people are on our side now because we turned on our gaydar. Now, interestingly, in the case of Hansen was a trad cat. He wasn't even Skittles. If I recall, he liked to watch people with his wife. I think that's what it was. And so here's a trad cat who likes to be cucked. Isn't that right? You guys remember? You guys have seen Breach, right? Isn't this what's going on? So Breach was another case of entrapment. It just turned out that his dumb proclivity was to watch people enjoying his wife. That's what happens in the plot, and I think that's true, if you guys remember. But they don't like to talk about all the details because I guess it's kind of embarrassing. But it's like, why was he entrapped? Well, they found out that he was... now, this says Lutheran. Oh, he was born Lutheran. Let's see. No, he converted the trad cat. His wife. Yes, his wife turned him trad cat. Okay, well, I guess Wikipedia is not going to tell us. Anyway, in the movie, at least, I don't know what the real story is, but I wouldn't be surprised. Does anybody remember this movie? Nobody knows? So, I mean, might as well be Skittles. He's watching people bang his wife. I mean, all right, moving on. Hall of Pleasurable Delights. Let's go back to, we're going to get straight up Nippon, right? Hall of Fame. No, Hall of Pleasurable Delights. You know what? This might actually pull up something else. Maybe I shouldn't search this. We're going to get some freaking nasty, weird anime stuff or something. Yoshawara. The Red Light District. Is that it? See, you can't even search any of this stuff. Like the actual history, none of this comes up. By the way, if you guys would hit like and share, welcome to tonight's interesting... Yes, I forgot Robert Hansen was Opus Dei, exactly. Now, does anybody remember the actual case, though? What wasn't he... Like, he was, like, sending videos of his wife sleeping with people or something. It was just, like... Freaking weirdos. I mean, we all have our vices, but, I mean, some of these vices are just freaking off the hook. Just insane. Okay, so nothing comes up with this, but this was the Hall of Pleasurable Delights. And, as we said, this was the invention of... a Prussian intelligence handler by the name of Stieber, and he worked for the Prussian government and set up this vast kind of greenhouse, as he called it. And then Japan got wind of this, and they said, we want you to come over here and set up your whole technique, your whole system, and we'll call it the Hall of Pleasurable Delights. And it'd basically be a giant, I guess, a palace. It doesn't say how big it was, but it doesn't sound small if it's the Hall of Pleasurable Delights. And it catered to any whim. So anything, apparently. And it does seem that in Japan, they'll go for anything. I remember one time before I met Jamie, I've never been to Japan, but there was this techno DJ girl that I was talking to. And I don't know if this is true, but it doesn't sound far-fetched. And I apologize, this is gross. But this gives you an idea of how gross things can get. But she said that when she went to play a rave in Japan, that the very wealthy Japanese businessmen, this is so crazy. Maybe I shouldn't even say this. How can we say this in code? Basically, they will pay the ladies of the evening, this is like the multimillionaire business class, to fast for a long time. The ladies' systems clear out. They eat strawberries, and that's like all they're allowed to eat, right? And then the Japanese businessmen eat the strawberries after they have processed. And it's just so freaking weird and gross that I don't think that techno chick was lying. That just sounds like, I'm like, what is wrong with these Japanese people? Like, what? That's just crazy, dude. Come on. Does nobody just want to have a man and a woman? Like, is that, y'all don't want that? I mean, isn't your population declining? Like, maybe you guys should, like, throw out all the degeneracy and maybe just go back to, like, man and woman. Like, remember that? Do you guys remember that thing? Anyway, so pleased with the success of the Hall of Pleasurable Delights, the Japanese government established these training schools throughout their attempted Japanese empire of Russia, China, Manchuria, under the guise of teaching jujitsu. Interesting. They, however, were actually training and engaging in all kinds of espionage. By 1878, dozens of these patriotic societies had been set up by Japanese nationals in their host countries. These secret groups were given secret names, so they actually set up secret SEX societies. So now we're getting into freaking R. Kelly territory, because R. Kelly set up secret SEX society, if you didn't know that. An SEX cult. It's the remix to Ignition, hot and fresh out the kitchen. Mama rolling them sushi rolls, got every man in here wishing. Sipping on coke and sake. I'm like, anyway. There's all kinds of jokes to be made there. We'll stop there, though. That's R. Kelly. Some of these names of these secret SEX societies were the Black Ocean, the Black Dragon, the East Asia One culture, the Reawakening of Asia, the White Wolf, and the Turan. These were all covers and secret societies for SEX cults, which were covers for Japanese espionage. And this information was so successful, as we said, that the Russian men who frequented the Japanese parlors divulged too much information, and this led to Russia losing the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905. And I'll give his brief summary of this. He says, although we don't have precise records to the effectiveness of the Japanese Sxpionage, by 1904-1905, the war had ended disastrously for the Russians because their Baltic fleet was utterly destroyed in the Straits of Tsushima. This event could only have occurred if the Japanese had obtained advanced information through these networks. Moving on, the master of Japanese sexpionage and espionage is a man named Kenji Doihara. If William Stieber was the master planner of all modern sexpionage, sort of the Robert Maxwell, Jeff Stein McGeffrey of his day, Japan's next figure here was Kenji Doihara. He was the espionage master of all international perversion and panderism. It is ironic that Doihara fed his ambition through his view of the necessity of degrading women. He owed his start in Japanese espionage to a young and beautiful innocent girl who was his own sister, whom he, shall we say, corralled into this type of work. He had no concern for his sister's reputation or for her virtue, and in fact, he utilized photographs that he had taken of her and sent them to Japan's imperial princes. The princes were impressed with this babe, and they sent immediately to make her a concubine. Doihara, however, was completely without any moral scruples and was utilizing her as his own spy. That's pretty ballsy, too, by the way, to use your sister to spy on the Japanese prince. I mean, this dude had no scruples. That dude just didn't care. So, he was working together, however, with a General Honjo. Between them, they had no scruples, and they put together a subversive movement called Anfu. Eventually, they, I guess, tried to overthrow the capital city. Oh, excuse me, excuse me, I have this backwards. Okay, so Doihara's idea was use his sister, not the Japanese imperial, but eventually he was using his sex networks to destroy China. Excuse me. Doihara immediately set about developing a plan to demoralize China. Now, here's the key point that I wanted to get to with this. This is an early case of weaponized vice and degeneracy used on a mass scale by Kenji Doihara of Japan to destroy China. And it wasn't just a network of houses of ill repute. It was also opium. So he starts tying in drugs and SEX to culturally attack China. Culture war. degeneracy promoted to weaken China. Dohira's first step was to convert the traditional Chinese men's clubs into saloons, gambling houses, brothels, and opium dens. In small towns and villages, he established many booths at local fairs that offered medicine. However, this medicine was not a cure for tuberculosis, but was in fact opium. This is like exactly the same thing that goes on in America via fentanyl. Dohira then spawned an army of addicts that numbered tens of thousands, who were then his slaves and informers because they were addicts. They relied on him for opium. They would then inform and spy for him as addicts. He even created his own special brand of cigarette that was laced with opium to help get more and more addicts. This is just crazy. This dude was off the hook. In fact, he was so successful at softening the country's defenses through all of this internal subversion that he destroyed most of the Chinese people's will to resist. In fact, he continued to open numerous brothels in key cities and used white Russian addicts as the prostitutes in these brothels. This is crazy. In 1931, Japan, when they felt that China had been sufficiently weakened, they invaded Manchuria. So you understand that all of what's going on in the West today, there's nothing new. This is old school techniques of warfare that go beyond tanks and soldiers. It's old school warfare using culture war, degeneracy, and so forth. The whole country was basically ridden with informers, traitors, and addicts, and so the invasion was basically China fell right away. They were shocked with, in a city of 2 million people, it only took them 24 hours to capture it. The next city fell within 6 months, and by 1932, Manchuria was renamed Manchukuo, a now Japanese vassal state, and the Japanese put in a man named Henry Puyi, who was their puppet leader. Kenji Dohira was then turned his attention to 5 northern provinces of China and launched a successful invasion in 1933. By 1937, the Japanese troops, led by Kenji Dohira, had captured Peking, Shanghai, and Nanking. Now I enter the picture a figure you might have heard of. General Chiang Kai-shek assumed leadership of the Chinese government in 1935. He then launched an uncompromising counter-espionage campaign that resulted in the execution of hundreds of Kenji Dohira's agents and ultimately the defeat of the Japanese forces. So Kenji Dohira could only be stopped by Chiang Kai-shek. Those who sought retribution for these activities by Dohira were frustrated by the outbreak of World War II. In fact, it was not until the end of the war that Kenji Dohira was tried as a war criminal, convicted, and it was executed as the first espionage agent in history sentenced to death for the crimes committed by all of his subordinates. Fascinating. So, here we have stuff that we all think is brand new. Half the people in the country, 95% of the people in the country still don't even know this is classic warfare. Pop culture, drugs, 60s counterculture stuff. Are you kidding me? The Japanese were doing this in the 1930s. By the way, the British were doing it too. So this is not conspiracy theory. This is basic warfare history. And I was talking, so when I was on Pearl's podcast, she said, my dad is a Gen X boomer age. He says, all this conspiracy stuff's crazy. What do you say to that? Now think about this kind of a question. Every boomer I've ever talked to, and even some of the Gen X too, they love war stories. Right? Boomers love war stories. I love my World War II war stories. I love my Civil War stories. And they watch, remember when the History Channel used to have actual history stuff, not just UFOs and tiny mustache men. And they would do endless documentaries on D-Day and World War II. And now, basic history of warfare is full of conspiracy. I just read you an entire story of Kenji Doihara, who was doing this stuff way before Tim Leary. So how do boomers and all these people who love their war stories do this? War stories are full of conspiracy. What are you talking about? Well, it was only during the war. It don't exist now. Really? So all the people who engage in espionage and counter counter espionage and culture war, they just said, "Oh, war's not happening now, so we won't do any of these things anymore." And there's no such man as Jeff Stein McGaffrey. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anymore. It's crazy conspiracy theory. Meanwhile, half of the boomers believed that Don Trump was engaged in pee-pee gate, which is all fake. But they believe that. I mean, these people are stupid. These people are stupid. Now, here's something fascinating. We're going to thank you guys. You guys are being generous tonight. Appreciate those super chats. Welcome, everybody. Did you know? I did not know this. I've read a few books on the Civil War. I don't know a whole lot about the Civil War. I read R.L. Dabney's Defense of Virginia in the South. We had many classes in undergrad on Civil War. I've heard a million. I mean, if you're from the South, you've heard a million stories about who's really at fault in the Civil War. So I know all this stuff. But I'm not like a Civil War historian, okay? I know John Brown was a terrorist. I know all of this stuff, okay? I didn't know that the Confederates, I mean, the Union did this too, but did you know that the Confederates, they had them some lady spies? I did not know that. One of the most famous lady spies, shall we say, a Southern belle. Have you ever heard of Mrs. Belle Boyd of the Southern Army? Why, Miss Belle Boyd, while she was flirting her way all around Civil War secrets. Now, it's weird because like a 1 or a 2 today apparently was like a 10 in the Civil War. I mean, man, these poor. I feel sorry for my great grandparents and great grandparents because, man, they had some uggos back in the day. Like, that is like a 10. I mean, this chick was considered like the babe of the Civil War. Like ugh. Yeesh. Anyway, Bella Boyd was flirting and sleeping her way all around and messing up them Union men. Now, aside from Belle Boyd, by the way, I think she also was an actress. Another famous Civil War spy named Pauline Cushman was an actress. And another famous operative, John Wilkes Booth, was an actor. Very fascinating. So you've got all these Civil War era people, also spies and actors. Fascinating. So there's not a whole lot of that super fascinating stuff with these people, although this Belle Boyd woman did do some pretty wild stuff. Kind of flirting and sleeping her way around, getting secrets. But she never really got in trouble. So she was like, she was linked romantically to many congressmen and many high-ranking military officers of the Union. And her sexual charisma was apparently so wild that even though she was eventually arrested by Pinkerton, so the first private security in America was Alan Pinkerton, which is, I think, ultimately was like a Rockefeller thing, or connected to Rockefellers. She eventually, even though she was arrested, was still directing all of her network of Confederate spies from prison. I mean, this chick was wild. That would be an interesting movie. But let's see. The Germans, and we talked about this when we covered the Sutton books. There's this whole fascinating history that many people don't know about. There's a few movies from the 40s that we have not yet covered and watched about German spies in America. So, there's some ones, I think. There's one with Orson Welles and Edward G. Robinson. There's one with Joan Crawford about German spies. And there's 2 or 3 of these that I haven't seen yet. Jamie and I have been going through all of these 30s and 40s noir movies. I mean, we have basically become noir experts. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Like, we are legit like mastering the corpus of noir movies. Okay, I dare say that there will be few people in the coming years who will know and be able to recall and be familiar with noir films like me and Jamie. We're going to be basically PhD in noir. So I've seen many of these. There's a couple of these I've not yet seen. I can't even remember all these. When you dive into the noir and the 40s and the 50s stuff, the 30s, 40s stuff, I mean, there's so many. They were churning out so many movies. The studios were churning out so many. It's crazy. And all the names of them are so bland, like generic and the same. Like, you can't even keep up with all of them. But there were many German spy networks at the time of World War I, and then, of course, obviously in the time of World War II. And so many of these deal with this time period. For example, Secret Agent by Hitchcock is a World War I German spy network film, and that has been remade many times. There was a recent BBC version of this. I thought that was pretty good. That was a good version of this. If you've never seen The Secret Agent by Hitchcock, I do recommend it. It's a really good movie. Here is the 30s version of it. That one's pretty good. But then there is a newer BBC version that's pretty good. I forget that British actor's name, but I don't know why it's not coming up. Or no, wait, is it the 12 steps? Is that it? 12 steps. What am I trying to think of? It's a recent BBC Hitchcock remake. Where am I getting 12 steps? 12 steps. They got a 12-step program. The 39 steps. Okay, the old version is good. There is a newer version of the 39 steps. Oh, where I got 12 steps. My mind is getting mush because of all this traveling and all these. I mean, it's nonstop traveling and podcasts. Like, I mean, we went immediately from West Virginia to Miami to back to here. I mean, it's just crazy. So there's a 1935 British spy thriller, which is good. It's Hitchcock. There's also the BBC version, which is not coming up. Here it is. 2008 BBC Hitchcock. That one's good. This is World War I era German spies. It's a John Buchan novel, and he's a British intelligence writer. So, Donald Bower goes on to give a few of these stories. These aren't that interesting because a couple of these cases turned out to be nothing. One of them involved the Eastman Kodak girl, but there was basically no spying going on. People thought she might have been a spy, but she wasn't, so that one's not that interesting. The next interesting case, though, is a woman named Amy Pack. Now, this one is really fascinating because she ties into some of the people that we're familiar with, such as William Stevenson, who helped set up the OSS in America and was working as an operative of the British intelligence establishment and by extension then for the Fabians. So William Stevenson, intrepid, working out of Rockefeller offices, recruited a sex operative. Now, here's the thing. I thought we don't do this. This is why I don't understand this contradictory narrative from Boer and many of the people who do espionage history in the West. Well, the West doesn't do this. And yet here's an entire chapter saying that William Stevenson recruited, and maybe they're just going to say, oh, well, he's not American intelligence. Well, he's Western intelligence. So what do you mean? Oh, well, he recruits this woman named Amy Thorpe Pack. So let's see if we can get a picture of her. None of these people have pictures. I'm very interested to see who is entrapping people in the Cold War. This is actually World War I and II. Okay, I mean, she's a little more attractive, I guess, than the uggos we've seen so far, right? I mean, for the 20s and 30s, okay, I guess. 40s. Charles Emmanuel Brousset, yeah, so she is a spy who is handled by William Stevenson. They even call her here the original honeypot, Amy Thorpe. Amy Pack Thorpe. Betty Pack. She's got different names. But, oh, they're going to get J-Law to play her? Anybody got a vote on whether J-Law is a 3-letter person? I mean, she basically plays in every freaking spy movie. She used the bedroom the way Bond used it. How Betty Pack stole secrets and helped defeat the tiny mustache men. Now J-Law will portray the ultimate honey trap. Well, she just played the freaking Red Sparrow. I mean, she doesn't really look like her, but whatever. I mean, you know who looks more like her would be one of those Olsen women. What's her name? The Red Witch. Elizabeth Olsen. She looks more like that chick than J-Law does. But anyway, whatever. It's a weird picture. She was ordered to go after Count Michael Lubinsky, the chief aide to Tiny Joseph Beck, close confidant of Tiny Mustache Man. Her code name was Cynthia. How'd you like to have to seduce this dude over here looking like damn Inspector Clouseau or some shit? You gotta sleep with Inspector Clouseau for your country. By the way, remember we covered Sonia Wiegert, right? We did a whole podcast on her. The Allies made her spy for the Allies against Tiny Mustache Man. That was a great movie too, by the way. If you've not seen that, Spy, S-P-Y, the Sonia Wiegert story. Anyway, so long story short, she's handled by William Stevenson. She spies for the U.S. and then for British intelligence. She was key in aiding the USA in winning certain wars that helped swing things against Tiny Mustache Man. She got Italian codes, copied them and sent them to America. And it says, through all of her sexpionage, the American landings in North Africa in 1942 were successful in large measure due to the information that Amy Pack, or AKA Cynthia, got through her liaisons. She ended up marrying Captain Brousset from France. They moved to a chateau, and she eventually died of cancer. So, next case is the 1942. The OSS comes up with the idea of, Wild Bill Donovan comes up with a think tank to go after Tiny Mustache Man only through employing psychoanalysis to engage in SEX operations. And the idea was to try to somehow leave a bunch of weird SEX literature around and delivered to Tiny Mustache Man, because supposedly, and again, there's so much stuff about World War II that who even knows what's true. It's like I don't even. I mean, the idea was supposedly Tiny Mustache Man was deathly afraid of a phobia of this is so silly. Explicit, not pictures, explicit literature. So like the idea was that Tiny Mustache Man was super afraid of like freaking a book with Fabio on the cover. Okay, so basically Bill Donovan thought, why don't we send a big crate of Harlequin romance novels with Fabio on the cover, and it'll really mess with Tiny Mustache Man. So, whatever. I don't think that ended up working though. But this was an idea that Bill Donovan had. In 1947, this was the CIA was moving into the atomic age, and we got these in-depth stories about the Alger Hiss story. And the reason that the Alger Hiss story came to the forefront had to do with Skittles. Did you know that? So everybody knows about this being the famous, atomic secrets story and all that. But people didn't know that a big part of this was the accusations of a character named Chambers. What's his first name? J. Chambers. Jay Chambers was actually Gay Chambers, and he was not interested in women and was involved in a close relationship with his brother and apparently with Alger Hiss. And this was what eventually led to the downfall and the accusations against Hiss. Hiss was concerned that Smersh would assassinate him. Smersh was real. And this eventually ended up in Hiss's conviction. So people who defend Alger Hiss say that we don't really know if Chambers' evidence of the Skittles stuff was true. It was his lawyer was arguing that it was guilt by association. This is like, the Cold War is really kicking off. People ended up believing that there was some Skittles stuff going on. So. And then we will end it with things that you're probably familiar with. This is the first half. The rest of this talk, the rest of the Donald Bulwer text will be for subscribers to Jay's Analysis. You can join my show, my podcast, my website, or my Rockfin by the links in the show description. Go over there and you'll get access to the part 2. I'm not positive when part 2 will be up. It might be in a few days. It's a pretty easily, accessible and readable book, so it won't take too long to finish this book. It's not that long. It's about 300 pages, and I'm halfway through it. So the next, I'd say 2 or 3 days. Actually, we have a lot going on. It might be 4 or 5 days before I finish this book, but this has to do with the CIA working with the houses of ill repute to create the Midnight Climax operation. This was part of MK Ultra. They bugged and dosed some of the Johns, as you guys know, and this was part of the experiments to see how the Johns would work and react to unwittingly being given LSD via the ladies of the evening. It's a real thing. It was really part of MK Ultra, and it was the CIA working together with the mafia. So the organized crime sectors supplied this house of ill repute in Midnight Climax, by which the CIA could then study the reaction of the Johns. What exactly they learned from this, I don't think we know. I think Midnight Climax, we don't have those actual we know that it was a real program, but I don't think we have the documents of what exactly went down and what happened. So now there's going to be some really crazy stories moving on in here. The next sections will deal with Britain's bordellos. And this, even before all of the stuff that we knew about Savile, he's even going to mention people connected to Savile, like Ed Heath. That will be in the members section. Things get a little more graphic and a little more gross. So we'll cover Britain's history. There's some pretty interesting TRANS stuff going on in France. In France's history of espionage in the last few hundred years. Some crazy stories there. We'll get into some more of the Skittles manipulation, Skittles targets. This is why you can't allow a lot of this sort of degenerate stuff to go on at a high level in your government, because you get a cacistocracy. That you get, in other words, a government and a system run by the worst people. That's called a cacistocracy. And we will talk about the Cambridge Five, because there's another element, another angle, another chapter to the Cambridge Five in this book, as well as in the documentary, as we mentioned, the Pigeon Tunnel Le Carré documentary, because Le Carré has his own direct analysis and evidence and take on Kim Philby's Skittles defection to the Soviets and what was going on. There's a big element that a lot of people miss too, which is ego. And you might say, well, why does ego play such a big role? Well, some of these people, and this was the case with the Robert Hansen story, like they in their mind, they want to, like, in their minds, they think that they're like the greatest spy ever. So it's kind of like the narcissism that you get with serial killers. The same thing goes on with spies and people who betray their country. They get in this mindset of this weird narcissist, and a lot of the Skittles people are narcissists too. They think, I will be the greatest spy ever, and everybody, I will go down in infamy. You know, it's the same thing like, you know, Jeffrey Badonkadonk. I'm going to be the greatest serial killer or whatever. We will also have some interesting stories from other countries, other famous Middle Eastern countries, their history, their stories, the United Nations, entrapment operations, and then the book will end with, let's see, what's it end with? A few recent cases up into the 1980s, because this book ends in 1990, cases that you might not have heard of. What was going on with JFK, because JFK was surrounded with people like Marilyn Monroe. A lot of people think Marilyn Monroe was probably a swallow of some type that was offed. Of course, as you guys know, we interviewed and had that great discussion with Sammy the Bull Gravano, and although he was not involved directly in that, he believes through his, you know, pretty significant high level in underneath John Gotti, that the mafia was involved in that operation, as well as JFK and RFK. So that's Sammy's take on it. He said that from their vantage point, it makes sense that Marilyn Monroe would have to be taken care of, because she eventually got into being in a sort of a drugged state. She had drug problems, and if you have drug problems, you might talk. So that was Sammy's take on Marilyn Monroe. There is a chapter also on Watergate. Did you know that there is a SEX component to Watergate? A lot of people don't know that. And then there's a chapter about fiction, movies, the Mata Hari, which is kind of a over-exaggerated case. She wasn't that relevant, really. But we'll come to that later. Guys, there's something that I have to remind you of, though, because we got people asking these questions. And I'm going to help you out here, because we got too many soy men. We have the epidemic of that. And I want to help you become toxically masculine. How do you do that? Well, you do it this way.
I want to show off something that we're all proud of.
I'm going to put you on something crazy real quick. Most of these Zoomer gym bros are consuming macro-guzzling synthetic dyes and synthetic sweeteners on the daily. They don't even know it. Goofy AF. There's nothing great about that. Do not listen any further unless you are an alpha or sigma male. This is important, and there could be consequences. There's a new certified sigma male pre-workout powder for sigmas only. It is guaranteed to empower you to dominate your co-workers, fire your boss, aggressively gamble, or invade a small village. Chad Mode stands out from the crowd by excluding artificial flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, and dyes. We've even avoided so-called natural flavors, which are actually not natural at all, ensuring a clean and effective formula. Experience the pure goodness of Chad Mode, colored with organic blue spirulina extract. organic lemon, cherry, and organic maple crystals. Forget synthetic caffeine made in a sketchy Chinese lab. Embrace the natural power of organic green coffee bean extract, which will get your mind going and pump you up to the max. Chad Mode is made in America with all clean ingredients, the first clean pre-workout of its kind. Why are these people adding synthetic sweeteners to every single pre-workout when there are many studied downsides to consuming nasty fake sucralose? Each dose of Chad Mode contains the kick of a cup and a half of coffee, delivering a surge of energy alongside essential vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and herbal extracts. Chad Mode will allow you to fire your boss and dominate anyone who opposes you. Chad Mode will make you more dominant in your daily life, so proceed with caution. It's as simple as mixing 1 or 2 scoops of our fine powder into water or juice, providing you with a delicious, energizing beverage featuring a burst of sweet organic fruit flavor. Chad Mode will give you the extra edge you desperately crave. Don't miss out. Secure your supply of Chad Mode on TikTok Shop with a limited time massive discount. Elevate your workouts and supercharge your days. Chad Mode, not for your average gym bro zoomer who consumes synthetic blue dyes on the daily. Buy on the TikTok Shop now with a massive discount provided by TikTok for a very limited time. Buy now while this is still available, or go to chalk.com and use code in caption. Chad Mode has been flying off the shelves because it's the first of its kind, certified for alpha males only. Do not buy if you are a beta. We will refund your money. I'm gonna put you on something crazy real quick. Most of these Zoomer gym bros are consuming macro.
I want to show off something that we're all proud of. I got a browser here. This is Jay Dyer's much vaunted, much sought after Philosophy 101. Now, he just got this page up. We are just testing it out. You guys are some of the first people in the world to see it. I want to say, for my part, it's not Philosophy 101. I think this is a mistitling. I really think of it as like Philosophy Unleashed. Because a Philosophy 101 course, they give you kind of some useless information that you can't make sense of. Jay actually lays out over 12 weeks, dozens and dozens of hours put into just the presentation of this, let alone the hundreds and thousands of hours of research that it takes to have a coherent evolution and history of the origins of philosophy, the uses of philosophy, the different ways to look at it over time, and how that has been brought about to what we have today, which is almost an absence of philosophy on the objective logic and reason side, and an overabundance of woke philosophy that is irrational and is made up day by day as people are like, I think we should bring racism back. And then here's a justification. And then it gets wokeified and spread out. And then all of a sudden you have a bunch of communist, socialist ideas where you become the property in action. You need to be able to stand your own ground. It helps to have a foundation in philosophy because it's a method to find truth. When you get down to it, philosophy is there because you love truth enough to go and learn how to find it because it's valuable. So if you're interested in things like that, there is the landing page. We'll link it up in the notes. It is a longer one, so we'll get a shorter URL for this. I'm sure Jay has a link on his page. I just wanted to show it off. Now you know it exists. You can go look for it and see why this is not your father's philosophy, right? So well done. I'm proud of everyone who helped to.
Guys, remember over at chalk.com as well, there is going to be and is a new promo code. The new promo code is J44Life, and I think going forward we're only going to have that one promo code, so I'm going to have to update that. And for those that were asking about the Red Book, the Red Book was back ordered for a little while, but I did get it in, so it is here. We're back in town. So everybody should be getting those this week if you were waiting a little while, a week or two on back order for the Red Book. But it's here, so you will get it soon, I promise. And also want to remind you guys too that, remember, chalk.com is not just Chad Mode. There's all these other great products, especially the Male Vitality Stack, which includes the Tonkat Elite, which is my favorite, which is proven to boost testosterone. We're out there in the gym. We're enjoying the gym. We're having a good time. We're beefing up. We're becoming beefcakes, Jamie and I both. We're adding the hamburger helper, which is what this is here, this ball of meat. This is a hamburger helper. That is the meat that helps me to lift things for Jamie, to open bottles for Jamie, the things that Jamie can do, although Jamie is also coming to the gym as well. And I think she's spurred on by that, to that in part by Chalk as well. So she enjoys taking the Shilajit. She enjoys taking the ashwagandha. Those are very helpful for mood regulation, hormones, all that kind of stuff that you ladies have to deal with. Guys, we have to deal with low energy. Low energy. We don't want to be low energy. We want to be full of action 2.0, which is over at chalk.com. There is the testosterone boosting Tomcat 100, the Tomcat Elite. Definitely, it definitely works. I had one of my good buddies messaging me a couple days ago. Shout out to Grug. He said, I'm so glad that you shared Chalk with me, because he said, not only have I been going to the gym, he's like, I'm actually signing up to do, I kid you not, the frickin' what's the 8 seconds, dude? Remember that movie 8 Seconds? The bull riding thing. And it's like he's taking Chalk, and he's like, I'm gonna be bull riding. I'm like, dude, that's beyond me, dude. Bull riding, that's crazy. Well, you start taking Chalk, you want to freaking ride on bulls. That's crazy. But that's what you get, bro. That's what you get. So head on over to chalk.com, use promo code J44Life. That's JAY44LIFE. That's the new promo code. Unfortunately, we had that big promo code for so long. But that's what happens, man. You got to take advantage of it when it's available. So now it's the promo code is the recurring subscription of J43 Life. I think it was 43 Life. Let me make sure it's 43 Life, because I say that and I'm like, no, that wasn't it. Let's see what it is for sure. J44 Life. Pardon me. It's J44 Life. So 44% discount. Still a mega super discount. It's almost half off. You can't beat that. J44 Life, J44LIFE. You're going to get 44% off recurring subscriptions. Now, remember, you can cancel at any time. And but the advantage of Chalk is that now you can just get that recurring and coming in on the regular. So it's J44 Life, J44LIFE. That is the new promo code for chalk.com. Guys, remember too that this is my Bitcoin address. This is my Bitcoin support wallet. If you want to support the show via Bitcoin, you can do so by using this. Right here is the QR code. Do that. You can immediately send Bitcoin to that wallet address via the QR code. Or if you want to type it in, the QR code is also in the show description. You know, I went on Timcast. We had a great show. We talked about a lot of news, and we got into the economy, and Bitcoin came up, and we got to talk about Bitcoin for maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I went to Tim's comments, and unfortunately, a tremendous amount of total goofus goobers are just displaying idiocy and missing out. Guys, don't miss out. If you're not into Bitcoin, it's not too late. I'm going to try to figure out where we can get some kind of... The only reason I haven't been pushing Bitcoin in terms of on the channel, other than you can support me by a Bitcoin, is people keep asking, hey, I want to get into it. What do I do? Well, I need to find a place where I can have the promo code and all that set up. So Coinbase used to do that. I don't really want to do that via them. And they don't even do that anymore. So there's no Bitcoin promo codes at Coinbase anymore. Kraken's not doing their promo codes anymore. They used to. And I can't believe these college goobers, these idiots. So, and I'm not saying the guy who's giving this speech is right and everything, but this guy gives this speech, and all these college goobers start booing him when he says Bitcoin. I mean, what is wrong with people? Have you not noticed that Bitcoin has gone exactly where believers in Bitcoin thought it would go? We're over 60 and have been for a while now, guys. Well, I will wait till it goes back down to $30. It's not going back to $30. It's not going back to $20,000. And listen to this. The whole place erupts laughing when the dude says that would be wise to get Bitcoin.
Great investors
Here's another angle.
And understand things before other people. So I know this might feel polarizing, but I encourage you to keep an open mind right now. I see Bitcoin as a very misunderstood asset class.
Notice the meme. These people can't even understand and read a meme. In 2016, to get a house, it took you 664 Bitcoin. The same house in 2020, 4 years later, 45 Bitcoin. The same house this year, 6.5 Bitcoin. It doesn't take rocket science to understand this. Hey dummies, what do you think the next Bitcoin circle would do here? From 600 to 45 to 6 to 1. Duh. Stop being dumb. Stop repeating, trying to sound smart. All the people who want to reply to this, you know, I'm so sick of the same dumb FUD that's been there for 10 years. What's Bitcoin going to do when electricity goes down? What are you going to do when the government bans Bitcoin? All of this stuff has been answered a million times. So, get on board, get wise, or be poor. Snagglebeast, $10. Payday. Have a Hamilton on me. Thank you so much, Snagglebeast. Appreciate that. By the way, all the people who have been listening since 2017 about this are thanking me. It's not too late. Storm the Cat, $5. Recently discovered ancient alien scroll. What? The final moments of Plato before he died? An alien scroll? What the heck is that? Did you see this on the History Channel? He was critiquing a slave musician for her lack of rhythm. Okay, well, this sounds like a forgery. I'm not trying to be mean, but that doesn't sound real. A Plato text. Oh, you didn't say alien. Excuse me. I thought you said it. Recently, they discovered an ancient scroll that recounts what's supposed to be the final moments of Plato before he died. He's making fun of a slave musician for her lack of rhythm. Okay, that does sound believable. Okay, I have to check that out. I've never heard of that. Junior Gallo, $100. Thank you so much. Really generous. Appreciate that so much. Junior Gallo throwing down the big dollars. And he's tied with Alexander Hamilton. Shout out to one of those old school presidents. Just throwing down another $100. Thank you guys so much. Very generous. You guys made tonight's show worth it. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed a couple here. Jehovah's, I'm not going to read that. $5. Here's a question. Fire is the answer. The trend is microdosing bee pollen from this area to fight allergies. I have tried that. I haven't done bee pollen in a while. I think the bee pollen probably helped when I was doing that in Tennessee maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So I will try out some of the local bee pollen, but I haven't tried that in a while. So thank you for that. I think I missed a super chat last time, by the way. There's a few of these. Philip Kev, $10. Great stream. Thank you so much, Philip Kev. Really appreciate that. Kristen, $20. And I missed her super chat last time. Shout out to Kristen, $20. Thank you for sticking this out. Have a blessed, great Holy Friday. Thank you so much. Ricky, $5. Would love to see a revival of the deep refutations of Roman Catholic, Thomism, Triadology, and debunking the essence-centered distinction through their so-called conceptual distinction. Well, if you didn't see over on my Substack, I did an article that debunks the idea that it's just purely conceptual. And so if you type in J. Dyer Substack, the most recent article is that. So is the essence-centered distinction merely conceptual? It is conceptual, but is it merely conceptual? No, it is conceptual and real. And there is that Substack article right there that you can go read. And I will also be adding a couple brief theological ruminations on the Substack very soon. Guys, be sure to follow me over here on Twitter. Here is the rest of that ridiculous, embarrassing bunch of university students sealing their doom by trusting in fiat emptiness, fiat worthless currency. And if you want to see the rest of this, you have to go subscribe on my website, jaysanalysis.com. You subscribe for $4.95 a month or for $60 to get access to all of the last 10 years of amazing archived content, lectures, and interviews. You can't pass that up. You can't beat that. Or you can subscribe also to a lot of the same material, most of the same material, but some different material over on Rockfin, the great platform, rockfin.com. $5 from J Thomas 887. HODL, exactly. J Thomas 887 understands the basic idea here. Look, you can't win by trusting fiat, and you can only win by trusting in hodling. Absolutely. That's the easiest, simplest way for people who aren't traders and people spending all their time staring at screens and graphs. Just put the fiat into Bitcoin. That's what I do. I can't tell you what to do. This is not financial advice. June 22nd. Guys, do not forget that the greatest live event that you will see all year, guaranteed, is June 22nd in Las Vegas. Get your tickets right now. Head on over to Eventbrite. Right there, here's the link. Jim Bob joined us as well. Now, Jim Bob is going to be on the panel with me. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with gold and silver, but look, I think Bitcoin will give you a lot better returns, but gold and silver are good too. It's okay to diversify, sure. Jamie Kennedy, me, Jamie Hanshaw, Isaac Weishaupt, Jim Bob. The merch will be there. The books will be there. The lectures will be there. The laughs will be there. The comedy will be there. The analysis will be there. It's an infotainment. It's an epic infotainment party that you can't miss. June 22nd, Las Vegas. Go get your tickets right now. It's going to be a blast. Please go get your tickets. It's worth coming to, even if you're 2-3 hours away. We got people coming from Canada, guys. We got people coming from Texas. We got people coming from Florida. We got people coming from California. This is going to be epic. It's going to be a blast. Go get your tickets right now at the Eventbrite link right there in the show description or in the chat. Otherwise, I will see you guys very soon. Have a good night.